Welcome to The Perfect Balance, where this is the podcast where we discover your symptoms are not the problem, with your hosts, Eva Vennari, Dr. Heather Kneale, and Leslie Brown. Join us as we jump right into this episode. Welcome in. This is The Perfect Balance, and I am one of your hosts. This is Eva Vennari, founder of the Elevate Institute. I'm a spiritual alchemist, and I provide true holistic healing to entrepreneurs and coaches suffering burnout.
And I'm Dr. Heather Kneale. I'm co-founder of Global Nutritional Healing, and we have programs to make you a certified mineral balancing specialist.
And I'm Leslie Brown, creator of the Stress Relief System for High Achieving Men.
Hi there, I'm Eduardo Verre. I am the founder of Essential Wholeness, and I focus on joining together the art of physical healing, the art of spiritual healing. In particular, I use mindfulness, hypnosis, and shamanic therapies together with mineral balancing.
It takes a big job to heal people, isn't it? We have all need to become masters of multiple hats, and today is no exception. We're going to be talking in as depth as we feel the ability to do so about sexual health. Let's dive in. And we brought Eduardo on specifically because there's such a great need for open conversation, especially not just with sexual health among men, but also women, and how we can heal that together. So let's start with you, Eduardo. What do you want to say about sexual health and how it's related to minerals? Let's talk about that.
Yep. Thank you for having me here. First things first. It's a great topic, and it's very important to talk about it because we, in our modern culture, we used to talk a lot about sexual liberation and stuff like that. But actually, my experience, not just with me, but also with people, is that we are not living sex in a healthy way in general. So we are still very much conditioned, both from the past and from the modern conditioning. So I have I would say, alternative viewpoint on many things, actually. So I am both against, let's say, traditional conditionings and modern conditionings, because, many sexual coaches are speaking about how in the past we were repressive against sexuality, but they just say, well, but in these modern times we are doing good. No, this is not my humble opinion. Yeah, so I am all for what is natural, but natural being, it's very hard for us that we are living such a would say, human-made environment to understand actually what is natural, right? And we are all mineral balancing practitioner. We know about the toxins. We know about everything. So this topic can be also regarded even in the microscopic world. It's not just habits of the society. So the first question would be, is there a distinction between sexual health and health in general? Really?
It's a great question.
Yeah, it is.
Because, if you're, I work with lots of people that have, men and women that one of their main complaints is no libido, like it's non-existent. And so if you're not healthy, and what we consider healthy is to have energy, enough energy, and we do it with mineral balancing. But if you don't have energy, if you're exhausted, the last thing you're going to want to do is, have sexual feelings and partake in something that's going to take energy, right? That takes energy.
Yes.
Even relationships take energy.
Yeah. Yeah, well, let's say that if you don't have libido, is the way nature is trying to tell you, you are living not under my standards. So I'm going to fire you if you are not ramp up with us,
That's a lot of people. A lot of people are losing jobs today.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's a pity because I also I also speak with people that are very, caring about health, but still they are following ancient paradigms. No? Just phrase it yourself.
Practices, ancient practices, is that what you're saying?
No, but the paradigm.
Oh,
Paradigm.
paradigm, got it.
Paradigm. Thank you.
Let's just say real quickly that for Eduardo's in Italy, and his first language
Yeah.
is Italian, but he's educated himself. And you were a lawyer previously to this work, were you not? You went to college to be a lawyer and found that world to be not healthy. So here we are.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. Yeah, right. Sexual health, it can be also, if we are regarding, if we have an approach that is more down to earth, we are not regarding to the stars, because actually not much people are able to connect with the skies. I don't know if you understand me. Sexual health, libido, how much you have it, how much you can manage it, how much you are not a slave to the libido. It can be like, like the test of your health, because I also speak with people that have too much libido. Actually, this is much related, in my opinion, with adrenal glands that are not functioning well. It is also related, to OCD and the use of pornography. Then you also have to understand that, I am 35 years old, and my generation maybe struggles a bit more with something like, pornography or this stuff. But I mean, physically speaking, we are facing challenges that in the past we did not have. We know it. Let's say that if we want to focus on male sexual health, for example, in this field, males got more problems than women. I am speaking from a biological point of view here. Still, sexuality in itself, what is sexuality? From one side is the energy that nature is giving us. It's the energy of life, and from the other side, it's also a bond. We cannot decide that we are not going to have sex unless we want to live a celibate life. But I mean, my humble opinion is that the experiments in the past did not went so much right. I mean, in the 97% of the experiments did not went so right in the past. I'm speaking about monastic lifestyles. So,
Eduardo, I'm gonna ask you a question here. Let me back up just a second.
Yeah.
You're saying
sure.
that, especially of interest to me because I work with high achieving men, but what were you're saying that men have more but there are more issues sexually with men than there are with women. Could you explain what your thinking is there a little bit more?
Yeah, sure. Here I am speaking from a biological point of view. So I'm not taking into considerations the environmental factors and the let's say cultural factors. Okay, let's imagine that we live in a natural world in which we live in tribes, maybe even in caves. I don't know. Let's imagine this. Okay, what happens is that the male sexual energy is concentrated and to work in a time frame that is really short. Men have to impregnate the woman and then watch for the turf, the territory, because actually we can get preyed. It's not a really easy life in the wild. So biologically speaking, the male sexual energy is more like sun. It's more like fire. It burns a lot faster than you need. And so this is the word I would like to. I always focus on, and I want to this is, I mean, the central topic. You need more awareness in order to manage male sexual health. Female sexual energy, it's a bit different because it builds up slowly. Ancient tantric masters and Taoist masters used to say that it can take from 30 to 40 minutes sometimes for the women to start, even to start. I mean, normally the average man, if he has no problems, is finished in 5 minutes. Okay, the average man. Okay,
We know that.
yeah, we all know that. I mean, I have experienced it myself. Yeah, so
That's why women want multiple partners. Okay, you start, you take on. I'm kidding. I'm making a joke.
I think that's important distinction there, though, because I know, let's say for particular women experience that differently, but for men, they kind of vary between a really strong desire for success in every aspect of life, and that and fear that they're not going to succeed. So the sexual performance and being able not to be addicted to it is very, very important. And when you're talking about low adrenals, of course, that's one of the things that we work with when we're work with our clients to get their minerals balanced, right? So things are balanced. And I also really appreciated what you said on the low adrenals and the addiction to pornography, because that's something I find that the men go to. They'll go, it's not commonly talked about because they don't want fear of exposure, but it's commonly experienced that they'll go to pornography or they'll go to cocaine or they'll do some kind of drugs because they're mentally sharp and feeling alert and being able to literally fire on all cylinders in every aspect of life. So I really appreciate that you tied that into the adrenals. And of course, that's where we all specialize. We come at it with also different adjunct therapies, but we come at it at the core with balancing the minerals first. That was.
Well,
there's a lot more. Oh, go ahead, Eva. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to add to that ancient way of life and how we viewed each other between the genders. Long hair, glowing skin, the youth of, wrinkle-free skin and all of that, good immune systems, that was seen as virility. Those were the desirable characteristics of a woman. And when you lose that capability because of a mineral imbalance, when we think about the connection between the copper and zinc imbalance and how that can create hormone issues, especially with the thyroid, and then you lose your hair, you go gray early, or your skin starts to wrinkle, and it all comes down to these imbalances, not to mention copper to zinc ratios directly related to our immune system. And if your thyroid is out of balance, a lot of women will experience, like I did, a miscarriage. You're also seen as less if you can't carry a child through. Well, it's not you bad person. It's your minerals are out of balance and your body's incapable of carrying the child through. And a lot of times doctors will put a woman, onto hypothyroid medication so that she can carry a child. I know, and that's not the solution, but this is where we're at. And so this is the common experience of a person, and they don't know, especially women, they don't know that they can want something more than just to take a pill to get their thyroid to function. Not being able to carry a child through or get pregnant at all is related to our general makeup with minerals, what we're supposed to be made up of.
Well, that's to enjoy sexuality. That's a hormonal balance thing too. Because I did think of a funny experience my husband and I both had when you talked about hair loss. And when our bodies, my husband and I first started the mineral balancing program, we both experienced more growth of hair. So my husband says one morning, "Look at this, Leslie. I have hair on my legs for the first time in my life." And I started crying. He goes, "What's wrong?" And I go, "Me too."
I know. It's like, oh yeah.
I had to rediscover the razor, and he was feeling frisky.
Right. I just wanted to mention there's lots of imbalances that we help. There's heavy metals that can cause addictions. If they have low energy, we get that with our sodium potassium ratio on a hair test. We see it with their oxidation rate. I see oxidation rate means like how you burn your foods. And if it can go fast or extremely slow. And if you're extremely fast, then there's, that is related to like more aggression, higher testosterone, not always, but, we see these things. And so we help, I mean, how many women have we helped get pregnant? I mean, we've helped so many women and men have healthy sexual relationships, and feelings. If you can't even talk about your feelings, or, if you can't talk to somebody, and women are I think a little different in this. We need to feel safe. There's a little bit more for our, sexual relationships, that we have to
Yes.
have. Yeah. So I think that, there's trauma. We didn't even talk about that. Oh my goodness.
Well, I was just gonna say,
Exactly.
like, if you're a person, especially a woman going through menopause, and you have that testosterone rise in the body, and you feel like killing somebody all the time, you're not gonna want to have sex. A guy comes up, your partner comes up to you, to want to hug or to want to be, close to you.
Well,
Right. Right. Oh, look
there
further up the
are
balcony, honey.
Yeah.
No.
But
We're
it's just
joking.
chemical, it's
These
not
are all
personal.
jokes. These are all jokes. We never do any of this.
well,
Really?
there are fixes.
Yes.
While we get the minerals in check, we have fixes. We have momentary hacks and fixes that we can use to have a better sex experience. I mean, it will not be the best you can have, but you can still have some good quality sex. I mean, in particular, if we regard the general situation of the world, so first things first, we have to understand that we cannot have the best possible that at the beginning, the best that nature was intended to give us at the beginning, because we live in such a toxic environment and we have such toxic bodies, but that there are fixes there. For example, you can, so as I was saying, awareness is the key point here. You have to bring awareness into this is what I do. I mean, while I heal body from a physical point of view and an energetical point of view with mineral balancing, I also focus on having my clients to bring awareness inside their bodies. Like I said, I use also hypnosis and shamanic therapies. And for example, if a couple wants to have sex but are experiencing some trouble with sex, for example, aggressiveness, traumas, those are big ones, we all have it. I mean, I don't even like to distinguish between sexual traumas and other traumas, because every trauma is interfering in the sexual sphere. Sex is such a deep energy. Is such an important energy that is all related with all our personality, so everything that happens in our life actually is getting in the way to have sex. And now I don't even like to use the word just have sex, because there is more into sexuality. Sexuality is the basis for something else. And how do you discover this somethingness else? With awareness. So, for example, there are some therapies, shamanic therapies, that the shamans use to cast out demons of the bodies of the members of the tribes. And they can really be used in a very safe way. These are not exorcism. These are more cathartic experiences in which you are throwing out your traumas in a very uncontrolled way, but safe. So you close yourself in a room. There are methodologies that help you to get rid of your conscious programming, in which you always have to watch out to watch out for what other people are thinking, so you are repressing everything. There are methodologies for getting this out of the way, and then you can cathartic. After that, you begin to have sex in a very aware. These methodologies are the methodologies of Tantra. Everybody knows it, but what people don't know is that everybody talks about Tantra, but actually Tantra, it's not easy. You need a lot of discipline. It may be even more than the classic yoga things, because actually you are dealing with some energy that is very wild and powerful. And in this thing, women do a much better, starting from the point that they need to have their biochemistry in fix. Okay.
Definitely.
So when you are doing that, you can, for example, let's take aggressiveness. We were talking about that. If after you cut heart and you have thrown out some aggressiveness, and then you have sex, but in a very aware way, aware of your body, aware of the body of your partner or partners, if you want to enjoy life more, and you can actually feel this aggressiveness inside yourself building up, but the touch of love plus awareness together actually changes it. And my experience is that when you do that, you also can stop detox reactions. I also have come to understand that anxiety, insomnia, when I am doing my breath work, my mindfulness, sometimes I use hypnosis, this anxiety, this insomnia actually were just my unconscious that was processing something, some traumas, but I was not there. You need to be aware. And so mineral balancing really becomes even more powerful than it is.
I was oh, go ahead.
Well, just tailgating on what I was saying. When you're putting your body into this place of non-resistance with the awareness, that is the place that we're trying to manually hammer the body into place physically with the minerals to bring it into a homeostasis, because this is the place where you heal. And all of us, I believe, have found that when clients and even ourselves go through a healing reaction that requires the body to eject a toxic metal, especially a heavy metal, that oftentimes traumas release with it. So it's not surprising that the anxiety and at nighttime, or when you're at least not being interrupted by life's inserts, all of the different things that can keep us occupied, but now we're isolated at home, our head on the pillow, and we're now just by ourselves, we can then be aware of the anxiety that probably was there the whole day because we've been processing out these wounds. So that I find that to be very true. Mineral balancing just helps to usher the whole process of healing sexually right through. And then I have one more thing to say, unrelated to minerals, but definitely related to pornography, especially when it comes to healing the effect of rape. So there have been a lot of women who have experienced being raped, men too, but they find later that I actually spoke with a practitioner yesterday. She uses BDSM as what are they called when you're a woman who does the dominatrix? That's it. She's a dominatrix for hire to help women overcome rape.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It can be used. Yes, it can be used like that. Not much people use BDSM like that, and it's a pity. In ancient times, it was red tantra because it seemed like blood. It's more juicy thing. But yeah, it can be very useful. I mean, I have experienced myself this problem in myself of rape and something like that. So I know it firsthand. But I would say that still, also in this world, we are going toward build up of awareness in the sexual field, but still we are quite far from it, and many people are using it in the wrong ways. And pornography does not help. I mean, pornography, the actual nowadays modern pornography is actually focused on rape. If you go on Pornhub, you just see rapes. This is what they are selling. Actually, it's a matter of fact. I mean, there are studies. I don't want to bother you with data, etc., but it's kind of proven thing, and this pornography can really messes up your brain.
Definitely.
Again, I have experienced this myself, and also I would say that we are reacting to pornography in what is, in my opinion, a non-healthy way, like no fat movements. I don't know if you know them, if you have read about them. In particular, young men are joining these movements in which they are actually not masturbating at all, and sometimes not even having sex for. Sometimes they suggest even for 1 year, and which is which is crazy. And this just show, in my opinion, these are just signs of an ill society in which you are going from one extreme to another. I My opinion is that in particular, if you have begun to approach sexuality with pornography, which happens very much times with young people, so you have been using it for decades. You have become like a great yogi in sexuality. So you cannot just undo the process. Like, okay, I'm not going to use sexuality. You can, in my opinion, everybody says, oh, well, cold turkey approaches are the best. In my experience, they are not. You need to go slowly, and you need to work with somebody that heals your body and knows, the goals, the direction which you have to go. It's you have to de-automatize yourself, and that is the awareness. I always insist on awareness when I'm dealing with this kind of problems, because actually, if you are trying to take in other habits, you can begin to develop an OCD in these new habits, which is not helping you.
It covers up the problem, like happens so many times. Same with alcohol. It's just same with being too busy, all that. What comes to mind, I was at a hair salon. I was getting my hair cut, and there were 3 manly men standing next to me talking about, as they do, the wife. You lose a name after marriage, you're the wife. And they were talking about that, and they were complaining a little bit. And I go, you guys, I just don't get that. So the best part of my day is kissing my husband goodnight and letting him know I love him. And the next best part is waking up and saying the same. And they just looked at me like deer struck by headlights, and was like, how do you do that? I said, well, it's the mental choice. Oh, they said, you're sounding very Asian right now. Very wise. I said, well, it's just
wise.
It's just how you figure it out. And then I said, there's a big difference. Well, before I got there, I said, one of the things you can do is romance your wife, dance with her in the kitchen. Just dance in the kitchen.
Yeah.
So this guy started to do this really erotic dance. And I said, there's a big difference between lust and love.
Yeah.
And that stopped him cold too. And I think when people don't know that, they don't realize how out of balance their minerals are. There's all sorts of people vying for the money. Let's get your head straight. Let's get this straight. Think different, do all this. But in reality, it's a very basic thing. Our bodies are out of balance, and it is a sick society. And if we'd start looking at the true core, which we've all lived through this, and for most of us here, it saved our lives, that our bodies are out of balance. And there's a different kind of, pornography can get in the way, but there's several, people want to say, oh, you're going to make me stop drinking. You're going to make me stop looking at porn. No, we're not stopping you from anything. As we get, your body becomes more healthy, you're not going to be the least bit interested in that stuff. As hard as it is to believe right now, that's a fact. And kind of encourage them to come along. And I was also in the hospital recently, and I talked, and I wanted the man I was with, which happened to be my husband, went up and joked with the girls on the other side of the counter. They're like, oh, how are you doing, Mr. Brown? Oh, just great. And he's making jokes. And I go, that's not the case right now. And I gave all the facts. And so, and I asked these women, I said, okay, is this a normal interaction? And they go, oh yeah, guys joke around. They'll tell you nothing's wrong. Your job is to be the voice. And I said, well, that's a very good phrase. And I started to do that. I'm going to start doing that with my clients as well. In fact, I've got to do a podcast with them right after this one and say that, because that is our jobs also as mineral balancing practitioners and all the other things we bring to the party, is to be the voice for people who do not know how out of balance they are. And a lot of the shame, the guilt, the fear, which we hadn't really talked about, all those things that they're under, is really because they quite literally are physically unable to make a different choice at this point in time, and they're doing the best they can. Well, we can help them enjoy life to the fullest, as our bodies are intended to enjoy life. And sexual, when you said guys aren't doing anything sexual for a year, I go, man, do they stop breathing for a year too? It's such an important part of life. It's such a gift we've been given to enjoy. And anyway, bottom line, there's a big difference between lust and love. And if you can hold on to that thought and know that love is really the goal, as mushy as that may sound, it's attainable.
Yep. And I want to say we have let this half hour has flown by, but we need to wrap it up. We could probably have another conversation and get into more details of, especially I see a lot of suffering with menopause. It's just part of life and we're resisting it. So I'd like to do that in a future episode, and we could talk more about specifically, we didn't get into erectile dysfunction. I want to talk about that too.
I want to mention too that, I work with a lot of young women and a lot of young men that have, they're getting healthier and they're noticing, they're becoming more aware. So, finding the right partner is not all that easy, finding people who are both trying to get well or both trying to be aware. So, and people are different. Some people are just going to be more, sexual, and then other people, I don't know if it's their upbringing or whatnot. So I think, finding the partner that's right for you, that should be a whole nother talk.
Yes.
Because that's tough. That's not easy,
Yeah, it's not easy, especially when you don't have all your faculties. And it doesn't mean you're not a good person when you are sick. It just means you're out of balance. And this is why we are all here, and we all focus on particular parts of what could be going on with you, so that you could be attracted to the work through whichever one, speaks to you personally. So on that said, we want to wrap up today's show. This has been The Perfect Balance. Thank you so much for listening in. We'll all say our goodbyes and then we'll head out. This is Eva Vennari, and founder of the Elevate Institute.
And I'm Dr. Heather Kneale, co-founder of Global Nutritional Healing.
And I'm Leslie Brown, creator of the Stress Relief System for High Achieving Men.
And I'm Eduardo Verret, and I founded Essential Wholeness, my programs.
Thanks for being here, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.